Want me to kick off?
Yeah, please, you can
Yeah?
start.
Okay. Hi,
Recording is
everyone.
going.
I'm just trying to see where I can see people's faces, just because for me, it's all about the contacts, because there's quite a few note takers. So I'm trying to find, without the note takers, where all your lovely faces are. So this has been recorded, so hopefully people that aren't able to make it can watch the recording. So I will just kind of carry on. I am a corporate trainer and I'm an executive coach at the Career Establishment. And this is my second time doing training with Talentor. So it's really nice to be called back. I must have done an okay job the first time if I'm getting called back. So that's all good. I'm actually a recruiter. I started off recruiting straight out of university as a graduate, and I worked all the way up to be an MD of a recruitment firm in Singapore. And I looked after Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. So I recruited all the way up until I was an associate director, permanent recruitment, contract recruitment, and have run pretty much most divisions: IT, sales and marketing, finance, supply chain, HR, pretty much anything that is around now. I used to look after. So I'm based in Lisbon. I am today doing a really exciting topic. Oh, I'm so excited to be sharing neuro-linguistic programming with you all. I mean, who'd have thought we'd be looking at neuro-linguistic programming for recruiters? So that is pretty damn cool. I'm going to share my screen quickly, and then I'm just going to run through what we're doing today in our 90 minutes. So let's bring that up. I'll run through that for a few seconds. Okay, let's make sure that you can see it all. Okay, now, can we see it all? Hannah, can you see it okay?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Andrea.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfectly.
Okay. So for the 90 minutes, you're going to recognize how different clients think and communicate. I'm going to introduce you to 4 simple communication styles. We'll call them communication style. I've made it easy for you guys, but it's actually going to be cool. It's actually representational styles. It's kind of the cognitive styles of neurolinguistic programming. And then we're going to teach you how to adapt that language in real time so that you can build faster rapport and trust with clients depending on what they're saying to you. We're going to help you to be able to look at how you listen and deeply for what clients really mean. So really tuning into what a client says. So it's all about kind of the language side today in terms of building that rapport. You're also going to look at how you can ask more powerful questions to uncover real needs and assumptions and create conversations that feel more collaborative rather than transactional. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let me just come out of that for a sec. So I have got a little bit of a task for everybody. So let me just stop sharing. Okay, if everyone can just bring up their chat function, just so that you can, the chat's on the toolbar right at the top, and you'll see you'll see the message in there. So how do we look at explaining things? Before we sort of dive into all sorts of tools and frameworks, I want us to start with something quite simple. So I want you to think about the last time you had to explain something complicated to a client. It might have been maybe your fee structure, it might have been a market insight about a competitor of theirs, or something that was just a little bit tricky. I'm going to bring up some phrases. I'm going to bring up 4 phrases on the chat function. I want you to look at all 4 and have a think about which one kind of stands out for you, which one resonates with you. What's the phrase that you normally would probably respond to? Looking at the words, the way it's put together, just have a look at the 4. I'm going to put them in now, and then just respond on the chat with either 1, 2, 3, or 4. So I'm just going to put that in there now. Just put it in, and then just everyone have a look and see which one you think, which one resonates the most. And don't put too much thought into it, just have a look and see which one works. So is it something that's more like painting a picture? Or is it more let me run you through? Is it let me walk you through that? Is let me break it down in terms of the data, more of a process, systematic type of way of responding? Just press 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which one kind of stands out for you? Okay, so VN put 3, so more kind of the data side. Mateus put 1. Okay. I'm going to put mine. I would probably put 1 for me. Anna, which one would you put? if you were thinking about responding? Which?
Yeah, listening to my gut feeling, also a 1 for the first impression. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So we're going to come back to that in a moment. But I want you to just hold it there. Just hold it there for a second. I just want to have us a quick sort of intention round, really, because when I do training, I really want to understand a little bit more about kind of what do you guys want to get out of today as well, because we've got an hour and a half of learning some really cool frameworks when we're building rapport with clients. But I also kind of want to know what's one thing that you want to get better at with clients. So if everyone can either come off mute or they can put it in the chat, I don't really mind. It's only going to be for 2 or 3 minutes, but I want you to think about what's one thing you want to get better at with clients when it comes to conversations and building that rapport. What's that one thing you want to get better at? Chat as well. Feel free to come off. There's no wrong answer. It's just feedback and kind of for you what you'd like to get better at right now, where you're at right now today. It's good to know. Thank you for sharing that. I think that'd be really helpful for today, actually, in terms of when you're listening to objections or when clients are coming back with, no, I can't afford that, or no, we use another agency, or no, we do it internally. The types of words and the language they're using, you'll be able to spot which communication style they are and try and adapt that so that hopefully that'll preempt a few of those objections. Anyone else got anything they'd like to share? No? Okay, so let's have a look at how people think and communicate differently. I'm going to give you a simple framework that underpins everything that we're doing today. It comes from something called neuro-linguistic programming. Has anyone ever heard of NLP before? Kind of, yeah, but don't really know what it means sometimes, right? We see it, we hear it a lot, and there's definitely in Asia, there's so much buzz around it that you hear it a lot, but you're kind of going, oh, how do I describe it? So basically, neuro-linguistic programming, you'll see it as NLP, studies how people make sense of the world through their senses. So what they see, hear, feel, and how they talk to themselves internally. So that's basically what it is. You don't need to really understand every concept of it right now, but what matters is the idea behind it. So most of us have a preference. We have a filter that we go to first. So when we think about our interactions with a client and they're processing that information, they're either visualizing it, they're either listening for how it sounds, or they're checking how it feels, or they're running it through logic in their head. And that's kind of what we want to be looking at today, is that when we're getting responses from clients or anyone in your life that you want to influence or build rapport with, we want to be able to understand which communication style that is and be able to adapt to that. So there are 4 communication styles. One of the core ideas here is that people don't think the same way. Okay, they don't all make the decisions the same way. They don't all need the same type of explanation. Some clients need to see it clearly. Some need to talk it through. Some need to feel confident and comfortable, and some need it more structured, more logical.
Sorry,
so
Andrea,
where this becomes, sorry.
Shall we already see some slides from you? Because we do not see the slides right now, or at least I don't.
You're not going to see them right now. I'm going to talk for at least one more minute, and then I'm going to share.
Sorry.
Don't worry. I know. We're so used to that, right? We're so used to having I know. I didn't want to put it up straight away, because what will happen is that you won't listen to what I'm saying on it. And I just want to make it commercial for you guys as recruiters first, because as soon as I show a slide, I know what it's like as recruiters. Like, okay, there's the solution. Let me grab that right now. So I'm I'm gearing up to it, so don't worry. Don't worry. It's going to come.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, don't. No, not at all. Not at all. So when it comes to so let's make that more commercial. Where this becomes powerful for you as recruiters is when you speak in the client's preferred language, they feel understood faster, right? So when you mismatch it, even slightly, if you start talking visual things and actually they're more data and more logic and structured, we then start mismatching, misaligning, and that rapport kind of breaks down. So we want to really make sure that we get that right. So is everyone with me so far on that before I bring up those slides? Okay, so what I mentioned before is we have 4 communication styles. They're called representational systems in NLP terms, just in case you hear that and think, oh. So a representational system is simply the way someone represents the information in their mind. It's the filter they use to make sense of the world. So now I'm going to show my slides. So let's bring those up now. I'm going to go through the 4 communication styles so you can have a look at those. Okie doke. A sec for my slides to wake up. Okay, let's go through these quickly. Okay, so here are the 4. I'm going to go through each one, but let's have a look at the visual. Well, we look at that as one big slide. We've got visual, we've got auditory, we've got internal, we've got kinesthetic, which surprisingly I've spelled that right. It's one of those words that I tend to always spell wrong. I'm going to go through each one separately. That you'll get access to the slides, so don't worry about trying to take pictures now. You'll get full access and you'll get a handout. So don't worry about that a sec. So let's have a look at the visuals, the visual one. So some people think in images. They talk like this. I want to see what you mean. Hey, that looks good. I can't quite picture that right now. I can't quite picture that candidate sitting in that role right now. How does that really look like in theory, right? So you'll hear kind of more visual picture. They might not even say picture, but it's referencing that. So I want you to be the next meeting you have with a client, whether it's face-to-face, whether it's virtual, just write down. Don't have to be working out the 4 straight away, but just write down some of the words they used, or even look at your note taker afterwards. Oh, that would be quite cool. Look at your note taker afterwards and see if it will tell you which representational system it will be. The second representational system for a client that you'll hear is those auditory. So, hey, yeah, that sounds right. Let's talk it through. I don't like the tone of that, or that really resonates with me. So these clients respond best when you talk things out clearly and calmly. And sometimes if you're not an auditory person, we can struggle when we work with auditory because it's a little bit more slower, right? They may be leaning in a little bit more and may not even give you that eye contact that you may be used to if you're more visual. So it's all those kind of things to be taken into consideration. Then we have the kinesthetic, so those feeling. So some people think in feelings and experience. So they go, oh yeah, that feels about right. Yeah. Or those fees. Yeah, okay, I can, yeah, I feel that that's probably where it needs to be. I get a sense of that. Or something feels off. With these clients, it helps to ask about their experience rather than just the facts. And we'll get into that in a second on why it's different from the next one. So the last one is more the logic, the internal dialogue. So some people are more logical, structured and analytical. They'll say things like, well, that doesn't quite add up for me, or walk me through it step by step. And when you see walk me through it, you might think, oh, walking me through seems a bit kinesthetic, right? But actually, when we're hearing now the step by step, then and also just thinking about the listening for other words and sentences just to back up and see whether you've got an internal dialogue person, or walk me through that data. These clients want clarity, they want structure, they want clear reasoning. Okay. So do I want to be going through this slide right now? No, I don't. Right, we are going to do a breakout session. I'm just trying to see how many people we have in the room to do that. Let me stop sharing. Okay, so Hannah, I don't know how many people we've got in the rooms to even do this, because all I can see is note takers at the moment. So
yeah, we can make 3 groups. I just looked at it with 3 people in one group. I think it's okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. So let me explain what you're going to do, just so that we can keep getting that memory of what we're doing, of thinking about those styles. So you're going to practice recognizing different thinking styles, so that core skill from NLP. So in your groups of 3, I normally would do it in pairs, but we'll rotate enough so that each person gets a go. I want you to describe your favorite vacation for 2 minutes. Just describe it. Think about that lovely vacation you had recently. Maybe it was over Christmas. Maybe it was last year. Just for 2 minutes, just describe why it was your favorite. Where did you go? What did you do? What made it favorite? And I want the other person to be listening and thinking whether they're one of those 4 representational systems. Then swap. So I'd say maybe we do 5 minutes, Hannah, in the rooms, because we're 3 in a room, just to make that,
yes.
if that works. Is that all set up?
Yeah, it's all set up. Yeah.
Okay. So is everyone all okay on what they're doing right now? That you're then just doing a really simple question, but I want you to be listening to the words that will be coming out, and let the person just talk away and see what you're observing. Okay. Good luck. I'll see you in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes, and Gertrud and Michaela are with us because they're not joining the groups.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked them before.
How many do we have in the rooms, Hannah?
Excuse me?
How many are in the rooms? 9?
We have 3 rooms with 3 people in it, because I needed to mix it up, because I don't want to that it be like 2 persons, from the same office. So
yeah,
that's why I did it with 3 people. Yeah. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. think they're coming back soon, aren't they? Was it 2:27?
Yeah. I will bring them back. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be in 1 minute. So I asked them to take their camera, put their cameras on, because I can't see their faces. All I can see is note takers. Oh, okay, I can see a face. Yay! How do I pronounce your name? Arsa? Arka? How do I pronounce that?
Arja.
Arja.
And we have
cool
Asra
name.
also, from Lithuania, Asra.
Asra. Cool name. Very cool name. Hi, I can see faces. Wonderful. Ozra, I can see you. Matthias, I'd already seen, so that's wonderful. I think we've still got some more people coming back. I can't see everyone's faces. So if everyone can put their cameras on, that would be so helpful for me, because I'm going to ask you questions, and it's a little bit harder doing that without seeing everyone's face. So who would like to kick off on the first room in terms of what was well, let's do this differently. We've got 3 rooms. So Arja, the room that you were in, can you share a little bit more about what were you observing from the person sharing about their vacation? What were you hearing from their languages and the words that they were using? What did you notice?
Well, when I hear the Ostras and Matthias, explanation about what they are doing, what they are imagining about their favorite vacation, I'm very excited when I heard the Ostras once, but it's more like an less visualized explanation when I feel it. And during the Matthias, unfortunately it's interrupted, so he didn't finish it. But his explanation of the vacation is very similar to mine. So maybe we can give the word to Asra to what he feels about ours.
Yeah. So
please, Asra. Please.
As Archer said, that he likes to discover, different cultures and see some historical places. So I think that he is more like he has visual representation system, because if you visiting museums, you know, seeing some historic places, you see you are not more touching, or not more hearing, you know.
But right. So there wasn't like I feel so much when I go to those temples. There's a real feel. There wasn't that sensory coming through. It was more buildings, architecture, history. It was more the visual. What you're seeing is what you're observing.
Yeah, it was short presentation. So if he would talk further, maybe I would discover more. But in general, I thought that it's more like visual presentation.
Yeah. Okay. Did anyone else notice any other representations there? I'm going to go through each one in a bit more detail in a moment, but I'm really keen. Maurizio, what did you observe in your room?
Well, in general, 2 persons next to me, basically just expect as a perfect holiday the place itself, not more much about the activities, but the place itself. Yes, I think he wants to be in the highlights because of the typical food and the nature in the area. And Hector, the same. I don't recall all the name of the place, but it's a place where he can spend time with his family and swim, and he likes it because he has no cellular coverage, so no one will be boring him. So basically, that's it. The place, basically, that's what they are expecting.
Okay, so let me run through a little bit more about each of those representational systems, and then start thinking about how that might relate to a client that you're talking to, right? So if we're looking at visual, and I want it to be kind of interactive, I want you to feel, just keep yourselves off mute, because I want it to be interactive. I don't want it to be sort of I talk, you talk. Let's just keep it casual. So when we're looking at those visual, which it sounded like Arja, you were visual from, or is that right? And Osra, you were also quite visual in your description of your vacation. Correct? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. And obviously there are kind of assessments you can do to really completely confirm, but for today's purpose, let's just keep it quite light. So what's happening in that person's head or your head is you're creating mental images. You're seeing scenarios play out. You're picturing those buildings, right? You're picturing what it was like when you maybe went to that particular place or where you'd like to go on vacation. So you remember what things look like, okay? So if you're thinking about if you're dealing with a client that you're hearing those kind of words coming back, you know, I can't really see what that looks like in theory. How will that candidate really fit in? I can't really see that so well, right? I'm probably got someone that's quite visual, right? So I want to make sure that I'm kind of adapting. Now, if we're adapting to someone like that, how might my presentation be different, whether it's in this meeting now or whether it's how I email them my proposal or the candidates I put forward? How might that be different? Just throw it out there. What might be different if you're dealing with a more visual person?
I think that, you know, using some presentations could be useful.
Absolutely. And in those presentations, we want to be making sure that there's probably maybe less words, more pictures, keeping it quite short, because, you know, they don't need to, they're not the fourth representational system. They're not the internal dialogue, logical data, images, infographics. We can keep it quite light, yeah, in terms of those kind of visuals. So yeah, it's a great way. How might we represent the candidates differently? You know, normally we'd kind of, you know, send them, you know, some CVs that'll be formatted. Might we show them a little bit differently, the candidates? Was there anything different that you might think about doing with a visual client?
Short video presentation.
Yeah, love that. What else? Any other ideas that's popping up in your mind?
Organizing a meeting.
Say again?
Organizing
graphics,
a meeting
maybe.
with candidates. So.
Audrey, you said something then, you jumped in and I didn't quite get it.
Graphics, maybe, graphics.
Yeah, like, you know, if you're representing maybe 2 or 3 candidates, we're trying to put across as many candidates as well, top 3, right? I know we can't put photos of them. That's probably not, you know, what we want to be doing, but you might have different kind of graphics and infographics, right, on there, on kind of why we think they're good for that role. You know, however we might want to display that, but that might be something that we kind of think about. So it's going to have, you know, visuals, examples, diagrams, scenarios, right? And it might be saying that, you know, this person I think is good for the role. I've seen them. I'm trying to think the right wording for that. Yeah, let me just move on from that one. Okay, so we've got visual, right? And how we want to do that a little bit differently. Did anyone in the rooms have any feedback on the conversation around the vacation that was more sounding? Yeah, you know, I want to go on holiday where, you know, I've been talking to my friends recently about this great place in Brazil. You know, are we hearing any words that's more auditory, more talk, more the tone, or, oh yeah, that kind of rings true, or I hear what you're saying? Was there anything that you felt was more auditory? No. Not surprising. There's less people in terms of population. I think my handout says 20% versus a 40% for visual. So the population for auditory is going to be less. So you're not always going to probably see more clients that are auditory. It's going to probably be more on the visual and on the kinesthetic side. But if we are having someone that's more auditory, we want to be listening to the sound or the conversation of the words that sounds right. Let's talk it through. I don't really like the kind of the tone of that candidate or what I'm hearing from you on that. Oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about that candidate. So it might be kind of you're hearing more things like that. They're processing through dialogue. They make sense of things by discussing them. The tone and the phrasing matter. So what do we need in terms of auditory? What might be different in how we deal with an auditory person? Any ideas on how we might be presenting our fees, our services, how or a candidate we're putting forward, what might be different? Or just our way that we deal with that person, our behaviours. It's a harder one, right? Auditory is harder than visual because we know we probably don't come across as many with them. So with auditory, we want to slow it down. We want to ask more questions. Have you got clarity on that? Is there anything that I've missed that I need to maybe give you a little bit more information on? So your tone, you're going to slow it down. You're not going to be overbearing. It's going to be more, have they got the clarity that they need for you to be able to put forward a candidate and get it over the line? So you're slowing it down. You're giving them the space to talk it out because they're wanting to talk it out and work it through and process that. So take your time if you get a sense that they're auditory. Kinesthetic. Did we have anyone in the room that was more feeling words, more, hey, that kind of feels about right, or oh, no, I don't like those kind of holidays. They sort of felt a bit, you know, I didn't have the best experience there. Or I'm not comfortable with rock climbing, extreme sports kind of holidays. Did we get any kind of kinesthetic feeling type from the holidays conversations? No? Maybe we didn't. Maybe there wasn't that many in the room that were more kinesthetic. I think when we did the chat at the beginning, there was more visual. So when we're having someone that's more kinesthetic, what's happening in their head is they're checking internally. Does it feel aligned? Does it feel safe? Does it feel right? They decide through emotional or physical sensations. So it might be you'll hear words such as, you know, I'm not sure this candidate is the right fit. I just don't feel confident about that candidate at this stage, or I don't feel confident with where we're at in terms of me deciding which recruitment firm to be going with. It just doesn't feel right now. Right, we might get those kind of responses from them, which for us, if we're thinking at it from a logical perspective, it can be frustrating. So we need to be able to kind of respond to them in a different way. If I'm dealing with someone that's a kinesthetic client, what might I need to be doing differently in how I respond to them or talk to them in conversations or deal with proposals or any kind of behaviours? What might they need?
Maybe more empathy, that we hear them and their feelings, how they feel.
Yeah, definitely. No, absolutely agree. And also just that space to explore the experience, right? You know, what is it that you're not feeling that comfortable with right now? What is it you're sensing? I get a sense from the way that you've kind of shuffled in your chair a little bit that something's a bit off. Talk me through that. So watch it. It's easier to see a kinesthetic because, you know, they'll say the words, but also their mannerisms will show it, right? So we can lean into that and say, you know, what is it that you're not feeling right now? What feels off? Let me share a little bit more where we can perhaps not, so it's not so off. Then you can lean into that a little bit more, right? So give them the space to explore the experience. Don't go through facts. Okay, this candidate is good because X, Y, Z. Lean into a little bit more about why they're sort of feeling that this is a little bit off. So creating that reassurance, that connection. The last one is internal dialogue. This is the logical, analytical, a little bit easier to kind of spot actually. But actually it's not the easiest to spot. It can get a little bit confused for people because, well, I don't know, actually, it depends. If you're in IT, if you're an IT recruiter, you're probably dealing more with internal dialogue clients, actually, from what my observations are with doing lots of training programs on this with IT recruitment firms. So you'll notice more analytical or structured language. Yeah. So, you know, can you break that down for me? So exactly when would those candidates get put forward? What's the process behind that? Right. What's the data behind it? What's the rationale? Those kind of responses. So what they're not doing is they're not saying it looks good, they're not saying it feels good, and they're not saying it sounds good. Yeah, the difference compared to the other representational CISs. They're testing it. They're testing in their mind all of this. So it's really important that they're checking for consistencies. They're looking at sequencing. They're looking at analysing the risk. They're looking for coherence. So for us, we want to give them structure, clarity, reasoning, and evidence. So let me share with you a little bit more about why I've put forward these candidates. It might be reference checking. It might be you've been working with this candidate for 2 or 3 years, and these are your observations on them very factually. It might be that you've collected information on them in the work that they've done for specific projects. So it's going to be a little bit more data factual, as opposed to, oh, you know, I've known them for a few years and I've always got on well with them, and you know, they're the type of person I feel would be good in your team. Don't be saying that, because it's not going to that's for your kinesthetic client, so it's just not going to necessarily align with them. So if I'm just going to share my slide quickly here, you've got access to this slide. So just let me know if you actually can see that. I'm not sure if I'm sharing. I don't think I'm sharing. Let me just go back into that. No good me putting it up if you can't see it.
We can see it now, Andrea.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Perfect. Thank you. My system seems to take a few minutes. Okay, so if we're engaging with the client's rep style, so just what I mentioned before, so visual, use examples, scenarios, comparisons, paint that outcome. You know, this is what I see this candidate looking like when he sits in your team. And, you know, and so being able to, you might even mix visual and kinesthetic sometimes, right? It might be, so I can really kind of see them sitting in your team. You know, I can see that they'd really get on well with John, and, you know, I think that would be a really good fit. I might mix kinesthetic and visual in there. Auditory will be talking it through, inviting the discussion, leaning in, probably asking more questions, reflections, you know, reflect back what you're hearing. So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Client, is that you've got some concerns on XYZ. Have you got time that we can talk that through now? Right. So those kind of responses. The kinesthetic is, you know, exploring how that feels. Ask about the comfort levels, the fit, the alignment, slow it down again. Logical internal dialogue, provide the structure, data, step-by-step reasoning. And also when you're thinking about your emails or your proposals, have, you know, what's the word, like a time journey. You'll get the CVs on, you know, the search will start here. You'll get CVs here. We'll envisage interviews being arranged here. So if you're thinking about how you're doing those proposals from what you've gathered from your pitch presentation, from your initial kind of contracting with the client and initial meetings with the client, you then can kind of structure what your proposals would look like. Sometimes we don't have the beauty of knowing or having a lot of time with clients, and if that is the case, then try and use all 4 in your presentation. Right? Have one slide that's more on the journey, have one slide that's more visual, have one that's more about, you know, this is what our clients have said about us, and use more of a feeling-based testimonial, right? Because then we're kind of making sure that we're hitting a few angles here, because we might have HR looking at it, we might have the line manager looking at it, we might have procurement looking at it. And so if we're looking at maybe a few slides on a proposal or a document, however you're pitching for business, it might be something that kind of hits all angles. There's something to be thinking about. Okay. Any questions, first of all? Just, how's everyone feeling? Is it quite a lot to take in? Kind of talk to me. Come off mute and tell me what you're thinking. Is it difficult? If you sort of thinking about clients you're dealing with at the moment, can you kind of envisage which rep system they might be, just out of interest? Talk to me, people. Talk to me. Osra, come on, please talk to me.
I just wanted to ask. I feel that, you know, some clients are willing more to talk. For example, you know, they are calling you and they are talking, and they are not writers. They don't want to write you emails. They want to talk to you. Others are writers. They are, you know, the whole communication goes through emails, you know, and they are not so easy maybe to reach with the phone. So is it somehow this connected to these presentation styles that you described?
I would think the representational styles are with their communication, their thinking styles. But could we also, I think what we've got to be careful of with this day and age is that you may well be dealing with someone from one rep system, but they're using ChatGPT just for ease. So you might see more emails from them and a certain communication style, but they may be using ChatGPT on a lot of it for speed, right? So all I'd say, right, that might be something. It was interesting when you spoke, Osra. The first thing that you said was some of our clients feel. So your words straight away were feeling based, right? So again, it's just tuning into that and listening and thinking, oh, okay, that's interesting that they just said that in the first few seconds of us talking. I'm just going to jot that down because I want to double check that throughout our discussion as to whether they are more that rep system, because then that helps me for the next meeting that I might have on them, right? I think when you said clients are more talkative, they probably are more maybe kinesthetic, they maybe are more visual. But if I've got someone that has that interaction but is slower, is asking more questions, is leaning in, may not be giving me the same eye contact, and is thinking that through and looking down, then I've probably got an auditory. And so I've got to mirror that. So then I'm more likely to say, you know, hey, have I captured everything that you wanted me to capture in this discussion? I'm conscious we've got 10 minutes left. Was there anything that's on your mind that maybe we needed to discuss? And that might be that preempting the objections. You know, when we're dealing with objections for clients, we don't always want to lean into it, but it's a great way then to say, are you comfortable with where we're at with the fee structure? How are you feeling around the time frame of us producing CVs for you? But I might use at the early stages, I might have different questions for all the rep systems. You know, if we were doing a much longer training session, I'd probably then come up with, you know, specific questions across all the 4. And then when I go in for a first discussion with a client, I might just pick and see which one I see them responding to better. Because I want to test it, right? I've got to constantly test which one I think it might be. It's not likely to be auditory. There's less population with auditory, right? It's more likely going to be visual, kinesthetic, or internal dialogue. You'll know internal dialogue straight away because it will be, okay, so when is it you can get those CVs over? What's the title? What's the fees? Well, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And it's going to be, they're going to say words like step by step, right? There are hundreds and hundreds of words for each of the rep systems. There's a great book that I will recommend if I can actually see it now. I know it's on my bookcase, but there's about 1 million books on my bookcase. So I've got your handout at the end, but there's actually a really great book that will list all of the words against every rep system. Not saying you need to revise every one, but it is really good to think about the words that people do use within each system. So when you kind of hear someone, you go, okay, now I need to switch to those words. And that will help with kind of presentations and things. Any other things that people are, you're looking up and thinking, and Aja, I'm seeing you looking up and thinking and recalling and constructing things at the moment. I'm watching your body language. I'm doing an NLP on you right now. So tell me what's going on in your mind with what we're discussing.
Actually, I just saw one of my friends and say hi to that. Maybe I might confuse you about that, you know.
Okay. There's me thinking you were recalling information.
In general, you know, it's great to, you know, trying to analyze the client types and according to that, you know, making the actions according to that. It's very clear right now for me, and thank you very much for the sharings. It's a very useful until now for me.
Okay, perfect. We're not finished yet, but perfect. Thank you. Okay. So let's look at the words that people use, how to speak your client's language by adapting to their rep system. So we recognize the 4 styles, and EPSTEC is noticing the words that clients naturally use. So in NLP, these are called, I can't even pronounce it, predicates. But they really mean sensory words, okay? So the magic in sounds is not just hearing them, it's matching them back. So it's about that understanding your client's map of the world. So when we're looking at visual, you know, I see what you mean, that looks good, or auditory, that sounds right, let's talk it through. And kinesthetic, that feels right, I need to get a sense of it, and logic, that doesn't add up, walk me through step by step, break it down, give me the data. We can see those 4. We're going to get you into some rooms and you're going to do some work. Yay! We're going to get you to just really kind of get it into your muscle about how you might want to respond. So give me 1 second while I just get the instructions, and then I'm going to put it in the chat and then verbally share with you. So give me 1 sec. Okay. So I think we've got 5, you might need, 5 minutes or so. Okay. Chat function. Right. Give me a sec. Right. What are you doing? Let me see. Hannah, is it what's easy for you, to put people in pairs or do the 3 again? Is it better to put them in the same groups
I will
of
do the 3 again, because I will do
Okay.
the 3 again. I just checked it. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so guys, I'm going to give you a scenario. The scenario is a client says, I can't quite picture how this candidate fits into the wider team yet. So first of all, what rep system are you hearing? Out of the 4, what are you hearing?
Visual.
Woo, boom. What I want you to be doing in your groups of 3 is write 2 responses to that question, adapting to a visual person. So think about the words that you might use. I don't care if you use ChatGPT, it doesn't matter. It's about just knowing that when we've got a visual representational person and we've got that response, how am I going to respond to them in the words that is more comfortable with them, that we can align with them on? No, so just 2 match responses. How would you normally respond if you had someone that we feel is more visual? Can you see the chat function, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. So I've already given the question, so that's okay. Okay, so you've got 5 minutes. I will see you in when you get back, and then we can discuss it in a bit more detail. Good luck. Be creative. Have fun with it. Perfect. Okay, so we are. They're going to be back by 3. Debrief, ask better questions. Yeah, I think we're probably finishing 15 minutes because there's just less people. There's not as much, we haven't got as much discussion around it. So
yeah, I was assuming that. Yeah.
Just letting you know that normally if we had more, there'd be a longer thing, but I'm not going to stretch it so that they're just sitting there. We'll just see how the conversation goes and see how we're.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done on the breakout rooms, Hannah. Thank you very much. Thanks for doing the breakout rooms.
Yeah, sure. Should I close it right now? The rooms, or
that'd be well. How long have they had? They had 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's 5 minutes
Perfect.
now. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Did you all have enough time? Did everyone have enough time?
Yeah, it were 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your responses. Come off mute and tell me what would be a great response to someone with visuals, so that we can really match their response, staying in pictures and things. Who wants to share? Don't be shy, or we'll be here all day.
We talked. Maybe I can start. We talked about how we can picture it for the client to do it like to explain an assessment or hearing where we can compare the candidates, and then you can get an overview of all this. There you can get the big picture, which one is the best and which is the market overview and something like this.
Okay, so you use the word picture or perspective,
overview, market overview, comparison style, to compare something with something other, to visualize the strengths and the weaknesses.
Yeah. The compare you'd probably use for internal dialogue as well, right? Because you might want to be comparing two with the other. I'd have to make sure that the compare, I was using it with the visual. You know, I might sort of say, look, I'd like to compare this one with this person. And, you know, I might even kind of do it like that as well to make it even more kind of obvious. But I love that. I love the words that you brought in. So some extra ones might be perspective or focus or clearer, or, you know, but for just the beginning stage, just have something that kind of has the picture, or something that's more obvious when we're just learning with some of those words. What other ones did you have?
I think we mainly discussed this idea.
This one?
And then
elaborate. Okay, no, that's fine. Now I just
we also lose time about discussing. Maybe we can share the organizational team, but my teammates are, you know, changed my mind. You know, the Osra and Matthias. So we come up with the Matthias answer.
So I did a bit of a cheat. While you were in the break, I just went on ChatGPT. I didn't bring my book out and use every single words that I've got in my big book, but I just had some responses that I put. I'm just going to put them in the chat and I'm going to read them through. So again, it's your own language. You'd put it in your own way, but it might be something on the lines of, hey, that makes sense. Yeah, let me help you get a clearer picture of how that person sits into that team structure where they lie. So it might be something like that, or it might be a really quick one saying, hey, let me paint a clearer picture on where I think they fit in. Simple. Or it could be that let's look at the strengths. Let's zoom out. I didn't put that on there actually. Why don't we just zoom out for a second and think about the strengths that are already in the team, and let's see how that person slots, and I can explain a bit more of where I see it fitting in. So I might say zoom out. I like that with visual people, because sometimes when visuals can get frustrated when it's kind of down into the trenches and it gets all a bit heavy and it's not so light and it doesn't feel so fun. But if we can go, hey, let's just zoom out for a second, because I get a sense that it's hard to see why I think that candidate's good for the role. Let's just zoom out for a second. Let's look at the strengths that we have already in that team. And then let's look at how I feel that candidate's strengths can really align. So I might kind of even physically kind of zoom out, right? And that also helps someone that's visual to feel it a little bit clearer. Yeah. Great. Was that kind of how was that as an exercise, just to kind of get, how does it feel to be doing something a little bit different in how you're responding? Like, tell me what's going on in your mind right now with just learning this new tool. You know, are you kind of thinking, how am I going to put it into practice? Where do I start? Like, I'm a very practical former recruiter. I'm all about, I want to know exactly how I'm going to use it from this and how I can test it and how am I going to know that I'm on track for it. And so how are you feeling around the tool and kind of what you would do with it right now?
I think it's one thing to know about it and something else to really use it in an ad hoc situation, you know. I think that's practice makes perfect, but it's the basis to really understand what clients are talking about, what candidates need.
And candidates, you know, because we have candidates that we want to be represented by us. Sometimes we might find a candidate and we know they're walking to another recruitment firm that afternoon and we want them exclusive. How do we get them exclusive within a few minutes of meeting them, right? And so if we can then understand what rep system they are, we can talk their language, we can match that. It just means that we're, you know, all that kind of uncertainty that people have when they're working with you, kind of, do I like them? Do I want to work with this recruiter? How do I feel confident with them? Are they credible? All these things that are going in their mind. If we can quickly understand their rep system and change the way that we act and our language, we're going to have a higher probability of being able to hopefully, you know, retain them and get them exclusive. So I think for what I'm going to go on to one other topic in a second, but what I would say right now is just listen for what the clients in the next week, test yourself, what system do I think they are? And just have that as for this week's goal on Friday, just look and go over all the meetings you had, maybe with new clients or existing, and go, let me see what rep system I think they are. Then start working on how you might adapt. It might just be one new question that you pose, or even I would get index cards, and I've got a handout, maybe put some of that knowledge from there on an index card, put it around your screen if you do more virtual calls, and then test out some of your responses, because you already have grasped the visual in thinking about how you would use some of those questions, and then just do the same for the other ones. Okay, perfect. Right, I want to just go on to sharing a little bit more about asking better questions, because one thing that I find when we're dealing with clients, and it's not all to do with just the 4 rep systems, it's just asking better questions. I'm going to bring up a slide, I'm going to kind of talk through it. It's the last part of today, then I'm going to go over the handout. Because we've got less people, we're finishing up probably a little bit earlier, because we were going to have sort of double the amount of people, so I think we're going to be a little bit more a little bit better on time. So can everyone see my screen? Did I share properly? I'm feeling I didn't again.
No,
I realized that. I just kept bringing up my slide and assuming that you can see it, which was a little bit silly.
We can see it now.
You can see it now. Great. I think you can see it before I can see it, Hannah. My system is it must take a lot longer getting into Lisbon. Okay, so when we think about our questions for clients, we want to when it's a vague question, or you know, we really want to. And this is actually to do with the language when we're dealing on neuro-linguistic program as well. With the way that we communicate, we sometimes, not to go too heavy on it, our communication language we can try and filter. We try and not go into a lot of detail on things. We can get vague, right? Clients will be vague. Oh, hiring's broken. Okay, what you don't want to do is go, oh, okay, and then move on. We want to lean into it. Okay, interesting. When you say broken, what specifically do you mean? Because what we want to do is we want to force them to give us more information. One, we can sell against that a lot better, but also we open up for them to be more specific on because it's probably not broken completely. We want to have an understanding on what is it they see as broken, what part of that process. And I also want to be listening out for what rep system they might be as well. So really lean into, don't be afraid to lean into the specifically question. What specifically is broken? And again, test that this week. See if you've got clients that are more vague than others, and lean into that. When we've got absolute, look for exceptions. So if the client says we never get good candidates from agencies, we only use our internal team. They're much better. We just don't like going out to other agencies. And again, there's assumptions with the way the way that we use our language, not just clients, just people in general. So when we've got a client that says we never get good candidates from agencies, we want to look for those exceptions. We want to lean in, okay, interesting. Has there ever been a time that it worked? You know, even just a little bit? Yeah, maybe. Okay, how did you get your role there? Just out of interest. So again, I don't want to just make any assumptions and take it as given when they've given me a statement such as "we never," right? There's always an exception. When they assume, the third one, when they assume, ask how they know. And this is a really, really important one, is when client might come back with, candidates don't want to work here. Okay, so what have candidates said or done that makes you think that? Again, it might be assumptions from themselves. It might be what they've heard from other people. Again, we want to make sure that we understand fully what those assumptions are. So I suppose what I'm trying to put across on those first three is don't take them as just face value. Lean into whether they're being vague, they're absolute, or they're making assumptions, because otherwise we're stopping our opportunity to be able to work with those clients, and we're not gathering as much information that we need. The last one's when they compare. It's usually fees. So ask compared to what? So your fees are expensive. That's always, I don't think I've ever had a client that says your fees are reasonable. It's a common line, isn't it? Your fees are expensive. And again, you'd use your own language, your own kind of cushion words before this actual sentence. I appreciate we're all coming from different agencies and different countries and different languages. So you say, oh, okay, interesting. You said our fees are expensive. Compared to which other agency, or compared to what exactly? Because again, we don't want to take it as face value. We want to lean into it. So they might be really, really obvious, but actually these are the kind of challenges you're faced with questions. And if we were doing a whole session on kind of the cognitive, the psychology, the brain, and the communication styles, we'll go into details more on why those four for communication, not just with clients, with anyone, comes up. But I want you to be really thinking about how you might want to build out lots more questions or responses. So you're going to get these slides. My suggestion, I'm going to come out for a second. My suggestion would be picking, stop sharing, would be picking some of the questions that you get typically from clients that tend to be a challenge for you to respond to. If you constantly have from clients, you're too expensive, or we use other agencies, whatever those objections might be, start thinking about whether they're vague, whether they're an assumption. Have a look and see if they sit within those four boxes. Test yourself. Just have a look at it by the end of the week. Have a look at what you're facing in your market. It might be a little bit about market. It also might be you as a recruiter. You're coming off in a certain area more than others. It might be you in a really highly competitive area, and so you're constantly getting pushed down on fees. If that's the case, then be looking at the responses that I've put on that slide and building out even more on that. And again, listening to the rep system. So if you can match the rep system with some of those question types and have different index cards with responses, you're going to be able to align and match one of those rep systems so that you can quickly build that rapport and trust with the client. I've got a handout that I will just show you. What do I have on it? Just going to share. I don't need to share my screen and show you that, guys. So you've got the slides on this handout. You've got the 4 rep systems. I've gone into more detail, the kind of words that you might hear across the 4 rep systems, hanging up on your computer, and then that might help when you're hearing certain words. I've also got how you can adapt, like what we've done today. And I think that might, and what to listen out for across those 4. I think that's everything. It's about 4 or 5 pages, so hopefully it will just help. And I will try and remember the book that I think you guys might like, that gives you more information on. It's an NLP book and it's green, and that's all I can tell you right now. But I will pass it on to Hannah to pass on to you guys. It's well worth looking at, because I think in recruitment it's tough enough as it is. If we can use some more sophisticated, more psychology-based tools to how you build rapport quickly, it gives you just that little bit more of an edge, and to quickly build trust with clients. So that's the end of mine. You're 15 minutes earlier than you normally would. So I'm giving you a chance to have maybe a longer cup of coffee today.
Great. Thank you so much, Andrea.
And is there any questions? Does anyone want to ask anything while we've got the time? Is there anything that you're, I don't know, your challenges that you're facing in regards to that with clients at the moment? Happy to stay on the call if anyone wants to. It's all good.
So I will also share the contact details of Andrea later on. So if you have any questions, maybe you can connect with her on LinkedIn and drop a message. Yeah, and also the summary and the recording we will share also later on as always. So thanks again, Andrea, for taking the time to be with us again.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it that you're with Talentor the second time. And yeah, everyone, if any questions arise also regarding the Recruiter Academy, I will inform you also about the next sessions. And yeah, thank you so much for being with us today. It was a smaller group than we expected, but yeah, I think it was a nice one.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Me. Yeah, thanks. It's great to see everyone.
Thank you so much for being with us, Andrea.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon. Good luck with all your matching. Good luck with building rapport.